Which true crime story kept you up at night? The kidnapping of Colleen Stan really upset me for a while when I first learned about it. Also, Richard Speck was a despicable man, but the prison video of him made me take a break from true crime for a few weeks. Just all kinds of levels of fucked up. I once saw a story with pictures on the iBleach subreddit, yes, the gore one. Please don't look that shit up if you're sensitive, about a maniac knocking on a door of a random house where a mother and a young daughter lives, and he brutally murdered them and mutilated their corpses. He cut the mother's breasts off and extremely dismembered the young daughter's body and put a baseball bat in her genitalia. I also live with my mom and I'm too afraid to imagine if this happens to us one day. Really? This story makes my blood boil. Hope that humanless scumbag dies a horrible death in prison. One happening right now as we speak. In my home country, a 37-year-old man is currently held in custody, soon to go on trial for abducting, raping, killing and dismembering a 22-year-old woman after he picked her up in his car after a night out at a very popular bar scene in one of our biggest cities. Her remains were found a few days later, scattered in a forest about 20 miles from where she was taken. They expect to reach a verdict in June and I really hope he never gets out. Penny Bell. It happened in the area I grew up in. In the car park of where we'd go for our swimming lessons every week with the school. On a road that is both busy and residential on a bright Saturday morning. Didn't know it happened until after I left the area in 2007. We had our swimming lesson there as normal the following Wednesday. The perpetrator was never caught and honestly could have gone anywhere as the pool was surrounded by canal footpaths that lead to multiple areas that surrounded Greenford. Dave find Jimmy Fallon extremely irritating? Heard he has a team review his material and check it's always inoffensive. Basically he wants to be liked more than to be funny. I always got the vibes that he was that kid in school that wanted to be a jock but he was so unathletic he ended up just being the annoying little sidekick hype man. I haven't paid enough attention to him to find him irritating. The moment it was announced that a SNL cast member was given the job to host the show, I stopped watching. There have been a few times I found him annoying, but he's also the only host I've watched that doesn't discreetly insult who they interview or be passive-aggressive. He always seems to try and make each interview welcoming and comfortable for each guest. He's in over his head with his role. The position was supposed to go to Conan. But Jay Leno was a diva. Jimmy was fine on SNL and that's where his skill set shined. He's a shit comedian and host. I have always hated him from back in his SNL days. The way he would just fucking laugh and ruin damn near every single skit he is in. He's talentless and just plain not funny. When he got the hosting gig for the night show I was just absolutely dumbfounded. I went on a Facebook rant about it stating that I don't get his appeal. I said he couldn't make a hyena laugh while tickling its ass with an ostrich feather while it was sucking in nitrous oxide. All the females on my friend list came to his defense. Not because they think he's funny, but because they think he's good looking. Yes, his smile irritates me. However, Jimmy Fallon is famous because he is good at making people look their best. Love or hate him, he is really good at highlighting guests in a way I don't really think other hosts are. Obviously that's the interviewer's job. But I think he gives people the space to be silly goofy, so his interviews are always more personal and high energy. That's my personal opinion. They simply rip off their toenails versus clipping? I've broken multiple nail clippers on my toenails. Thank you for your brave submission. I am also blessed. Are your toenails made of paper or something? Yeah, I used to. Even the big ones. I'm now civilized though. Mine are too thick. Where can I buy a tiny chainsaw? Yep, I do it too. Because that's real men of genius do. Can't say I do. TBH. BTW. This post genuinely made me shudder. How do you control the rip? Shudders again. Do you ever rip too much? Been doing this for decades. Then I ripped off half my nail. It was ugly. And took months to grow back. Absolutely not. My nails are way too thick to do that. It would probably hurt a lot if I tried. One of the meds I'm on has the side effect of softening them after a few years though. So maybe I'll try it once I get there lol. I used to. Then I started playing classical guitar and had to take care of my fingernails. I also have thin weak nails but I don't rip them off like a caveman because I don't want to give myself hangnails or infection or anything lol. Yeah. I do this too. I've done it for years. I know it's entirely the wrong thing to do. But I used to. But I've always heard horror stories of ingrown toenails and people having to get their whole nails removed. And after a few times of having my nail be ripped in a way that made it grow against and irritate the skin, never bad enough to need a doctor. Luckily, I've started carefully cutting my nails across and not too short on the sides like they always say you should. Plus, even a teensy bit of the nail growing pressed against the skin is painful. Can't imagine what a hardcore ingrown toenail feels like. I use my feet too often to risk it. They go to the toilet at school or work just to take a little mental break? Yes. About every 20 minutes. I get up and go for a walk. Yeah. I do at work. I work as a legal assistant. Definitely at work. Sometimes you just have to shut out the world and the people on it and be with yourself. All the damn time. Currently there. Edit, I even go to the bathroom to take lunch. I don't eat my lunch there, 'cause I hide elsewhere, but can these people leave me alone for a half hour lol? Yes. Me right now. Isn't that why bosses are so pissed you do it? And at home. And restaurants. And the in-laws' house. I go to the bathroom at home for a mental break. I used to do this all the time. Would literally lie in the toilet like crazy and take a nap. Yes. When I was still employed, we had a private bathroom. I would sit on the closed toilet with the light off for 5 minutes. I hated that job. About every hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm a graphic designer. I stare at a screen all day. So I'll go into our bathroom and just stare at a blank wall for a minute or two. Hit the vape a few times. And get back to it. Nice to walk a little and to not interact with anything for a moment. One of the more important things I do in my day for myself. Did the same thing when I was a cook. Just less frequently. Also, I drink a lot of water, so I have to pee often anyway.